This is BofC Live, the video and podcast series of Business of Cannabis. Find out all that we do at businessofcannabis.com. Coming up on our BofC Live conversation, we connect with Owen, Ritz and Horton. They are the co-founders of Copilot. Copilot is a would-be cannabis retailer in British Columbia looking to open cannabis retail stores within airports. Copilot recently announced that their initial shop would be located in Prince George, British Columbia. We connected with Ritz and Horton to talk about their idea, their journey, and the current status of their BC location. Owen and Reed, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us, Jay.
You guys were like all over the news. You opened the first, you're going to tell me exactly what you did, but before we even start, Reed, before we get to like the big announcement, Reed, tell us sort of the background about the company and sort of the thinking and positioning.
Yeah, for sure. So Owen and I were college classmates and teammates, and we kind of bonded over our shared, not distaste of travel, but we both thought travel was stressful, and we like to kind of talk about how we could improve the experience, how we could make it better, more enjoyable. We had, a million different strategies. Our friends had different strategies. And what we kind of saw, and this was, a couple of years back, is we saw people who were using cannabis more and more to make their travel experience better. And then Owen actually took a consulting trip to the Czech Republic. I think, was it Czech Republic, Owen?
Yeah.
And he saw a beer vending machine in the airport. And that's kind of when it all clicked and put together. And after that, we started talking about, people are using cannabis for travel. Cannabis, is improving their travel experience, but it's still kind of inaccessible. It's inconvenient. There's a lot of confusion around what is allowed, what isn't allowed. And so that's when Owen and I really started talking about, okay, let's build a company around cannabis and travel and try to, improve the travel experience using cannabis, make it convenient, make it accessible, make it simple, and really, try to improve travelers' experiences, because we know, it sucks when you're delayed, when you're traveling all day. It's stressful.
And just a note, and then Owen, will go to you. But also, alcohol is so in your face at airports, eh? It's like, if you go to a bar at an airport, they're like, "How about making that a double?" You're like, something that's going to dehydrate me, make me feel crappy, and potentially angrier. Now I'm going to drink more of that before I get on a plane. It never seemed to make a ton of sense to me, even though, I do like a double vodka soda before getting on a plane. But Owen, talk about sort of from those sort of that thought process and those ideas to like opening up or about to open up in BC. Talk a little bit about sort of that journey and sort of the location you guys have picked out.
Yeah, for sure. So as Reed mentioned, we had this concept of cannabis and travel, and we knew that we were interested in opening up a cannabis store at an airport. But there was a long process from turning that idea into a business. It began in February 2020. We started reaching out to airports in Canada. We knew that was the place to start, given the federal legality there in the United States. Due to the rules of multi-state operating, it's not feasible yet. But yeah, immediately we received a lot of positive feedback from airports. And from the start, Prince George has been really open-minded and supportive of this concept, but also us, and kind of has built a partnership along the way, almost for 2 years now. And we've been working on this concept. In terms of translating that partnership into a store, it involved going to the British Columbia provincial government and applying for a cannabis retail license to operate at the airport. And that process itself has been a long process, but we're now reaching the point where we've gotten our provincial approval on the store, where everything from our personal backgrounds to the floor plan of the store, our personal finances has all been approved. And now we're at the stage where it's up to the city of Prince George and the city council specifically to do a public hearing on our store and to ensure that it meets all regulatory compliance before getting our final green light to actually build the store out.
Yeah, it's one thing to deal with, a city in British Columbia or Ontario opening up a store. Like there's challenges along the way with the province, the feds, and the municipality, and even the neighborhood. Layering on that another layer of regulatory environment, that being in an airport that federally regulated, but has provincial oversight, but also has a city council that has some purview. I've done some work in city councils in the US, and the airport does, in some respects, fall under their jurisdiction too. And BC has been a challenging place up to now to actually open cannabis retail. So kudos to you. It's never easy. I mean, Owen, sticking with you, like thinking about the path from here forward, like, do you think both the company but also travelers, like, how do you think the response will be once you guys are open? Like, is there a parallel that, or have people been sort of contacting me like, this is the best idea since sliced bread?
Yeah, we've definitely received a lot of positive feedback from, you know, people all across the travel and cannabis industry, ranging from, you know, an individual who has used cannabis before and has had to smuggle it through security to try to use these products before traveling, or an airport who's looking for, you know, new ways to generate revenue post-COVID, with a lot of businesses that operate at airports shutting down. Our biggest goal is to open this first store just to see the demand in the market for a concept like this. I think it's one thing to hear people, you know, sounding excited about it on social media or asking if they'll purchase products here, but our biggest goal is to prove this out and to test out, you know, the two different models we're thinking about. The first being a go to a store, purchase a product, and then consume before traveling discreetly. And the second being more of like a duty-free store where someone is traveling, they're looking for a place to buy cannabis that's convenient, accessible, and perhaps less intimidating than going to a downtown retail store, and where they can shop at Copilot. I think overall, our biggest goal is just to promote a safe and simple cannabis retail experience. We recognize that an airport is a really special platform to introduce our brand to travelers, but also just to help continue the process of democratizing and professionalizing the cannabis industry. So we're excited for that opportunity and to introduce Copilot to travelers in British Columbia, but hopefully beyond.
Yeah, I love it. And Reed, I want to go to you. It strikes me, and I think all first chatted. Like, I feel like it was in the basement, so it must have been COVID, but it was very early on, because it's as you guys described, it's been a long road. But there is also something, I think, sort of interesting or unique about the experience of traveling, that people, in some respects, people's guards are down and maybe open to new experiences. And is that sort of part of the, obviously, that sort of thinking around Copilot is we need to make it an inviting space, because this may be their first time in a cannabis store. Either they are Canadian, this is the first time in, or they're coming to Canada and this is the first time seeing it. Like, is that sort of part of the design and part of the thought of like how you're going to set up the shop?
Yeah, that's definitely something we've thought about. I mean, I think Owen and I would probably say that regardless of the airport location, a lot of cannabis stores these days are still kind of intimidating. And, you know, maybe for the experienced user, it makes sense, but for a new user or someone who's thinking about, you know, not even necessarily purchasing, but just wants to go in and see what it's all about, it can be a little bit off-putting and intimidating. And so we're definitely trying to have a space that's inviting, that's familiar. I think Owen and I talk a lot about wanting it to feel like going to a coffee shop and, you know, getting your coffee before your flight. And I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of the airport being just this really interesting social space where people have kind of time to burn. And also, in general, they're, you know, traveling, and they're oftentimes related to that travel, like looking to try something new. And so we think the airport, you know, I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend trying cannabis for the first time in an airport, but, you know, maybe purchasing it for the first time and using it on your vacation and trying it out that way. I think that when people are in the airport, you know, they've got time to kill and they are just looking to do cool things. And, you know, I've spent 20 minutes shopping a Hudson News looking at t-shirts that I would never buy ever. And so, you know, something that's actually kind of interesting and new and novel.
Funny you should say that. I have the, and I don't want to sell them out because they're okay, but like, I bought this. This is like chickpea snacks that I think I got at the Newark airport. It's like you end up buying things you've never bought before, and it was a couple weeks ago, so they're not going super quick. But like, you're right, there is something about people's the time they have in their hands. They're in a different space. There's some anonymity to it as well, because people who travel alone, but it is really interesting. Sort of final question, Owen, like thinking about the landscape, and of course you want to get it right the first go around, but I mean, we're going to post sort of how to get in touch with you guys when we post the video, but my sense is that to your point, like there are airports, there are municipalities, there are cities that have airports that they're looking to make, well, even destinations unto themselves. Like, what if you get inundated from airports wanting to like bring this in? You're ready for that, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're excited to try to build a network of stores across Canada. Like if we find that customers really enjoy the concept and they want to shop at a Copilot, not just in Prince George and beyond, then we're going to do everything in our power to help customers, bring the Copilot experience to any airport they might be traveling at. So we're definitely prepared for that and excited to get in contact with anyone who's interested.
Well, thanks for coming by and giving us a little bit of time. We look forward to seeing the shop. We'll make a flight out there. It'll be great. We'll make a purchase. We'll video the whole thing. It'll be amazing. But thanks for making time. Kudos in the journey, because it did really. Now that we're talking now, not that COVID is open, but is over, but like the beginning and now sort of hopefully the tail end. It's been a great journey to watch, and so congratulations both of you. Yeah, that's right. Congratulations.
Yeah, no. Thank you so much. We're really, really excited about it, and looking forward to being back on with a store open.
Love it. I cannot wait for that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jay.
That was Owen Ritz and Reed Horton of Copilot. If you like this program, please rate and review us wherever you heard the show. It helps support the work we do. We're able to do what we do because of ongoing partnerships with Alterna Savings, Cannabis at Work, Cannabis Benchmarks, Can Delta, Gallagher, Headset, and Torque and Mains. Find out all that we do at businessofcannabis.com.